It's such a pleasure to be with you on this very, very special show that we're bringing to you live right now at ET Now. It is really the big mega merger that is perhaps being looked at. Indian Telecom is all set for the reset, if I may. Tata Group and Bharti Enterprises are reportedly mulling a multi-pronged merger in their telecom and DTH verticals. The Economic Times has today put out an exclusive report on how Tata Tele, Tata Sky as well as Tata Communications will merge with Bharti Airtel. The question that we are asking though is, what is in it for the Tata Group? What is in it for Bharti? Is Airtel being too reactive to Rail Jio? And of course the big question, is this the final cleanup of Indian Telecom, and what does this mean for you, the consumer? I've got Sanjay Kapoor, an industry expert, the man who was the chief executive of one of India's largest mobile enterprises, Bharti Airtel. I've got Mohit Saraf, M&A partner, Luthra & Luthra, and Gopal Jain, senior lawyer at the Supreme Court, who's done plenty of telecom cases and understands the sector extremely well. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us. Sanjay, I'm going to start with you. This mega merger that's being talked about between the Tata Comms, Tata Tele, Tata DTH, and of course Bharti. Do you believe Sunil Mitthal's Bharti Airtel is perhaps playing catch up with Idea, Vodafone, trying to bridge that gap? Because the big question is, would Airtel have looked at this if Voda and Idea weren't merging?
I'm not too sure at this stage whose initiative this is, because it might as well could be a Tata initiative, because we know that Tatas have not made a virtue out of these businesses and have been looking at alternatives to run these companies or to sell them off to somebody else who can do a better job. So I'm not clear about that, but whosoever the initiator is, I think there are some bits of the business that make a lot of sense, and there are others probably where there will be question marks.
Okay. Gopal Jain, come in on that. I'm going to talk about, the synergies and all of that differently, but the changing landscape, Rail Jio perhaps triggering this whole consolidation in Indian Telecom, financials looking extremely weak for the sector. What do you make of this mega merger? I mean, I know Tata is desperate to exit, but what about Airtel? Is Airtel simply trying to play catch up?
I think consolidation and mergers in the telecom sector was something which was certainly expected and on the anvil. Question was when. And as you rightly said in your opening remarks, I think the timing now is really triggered by the fact that, there's been a new entrant as an outlier. It's been completely disruptive. And it's like, matchmaking time, various combinations where people had dialed each other in earlier have now fructified. So I think it's really the timing, the mood, and as you said, what the industry is going through, which would explain this. But we would really have to see it in greater detail to understand the, the synergies and the beneficial impact of this, and who rung whom, and the way it's going to be eventually structured. But I think these are things which were inevitable and were going to happen. I think we're only now excited at the different kind of brides and grooms who are coming together. So I think it's really that which has made it a little exciting. Conversationally, I mean.
A different kind of bride and groom. All right, so different kind of bride and groom coming together, and that is the changing nature of Indian Telecom. Mohit Saraf, I'll have your quick opening comments because I want to get down to the basics of who stands to gain. Is this a win-win for both in all of that? But your quick opening remarks, a marriage between Bharti Airtel and Tata, who would have thought this is going to happen? Though Tata, of course, has been in talks with various grooms, but there's always been a runaway bride.
I'll tell you one thing, in my personal view, any merger, particularly a merger of this type, where there is an important consolidation in the industry, and even if we just move away from the geo disruption, but if we look at the Videocon, Dish TV, which is again a big consolidation. So in this entire telecommunication DTH space, there have been consolidation exercise of that for the last few years. And this is a natural step, because Tata does not have that big a telecommunication operation. They have lots of business which are very profitable, other are not that. So getting into a larger player, and obviously with that you get multiple advantages of your debt rationalization, maybe valuation also, you get a better kick for your valuation. And particularly I think we see Tata trying to fix their problems in the telecommunication with the Docomo and others. So I would say it's a win-win for everybody. But again, at the end of the day, it's all depend on the valuation. If it is a very crazy valuation, then one party wins, others loses. If it's a fair valuation, then maybe everybody wins, because really everybody is getting what we understand from from your report and your opening remark is that they're talking about merger. So everybody gets shares in the merged entity, and therefore if things improve both operationally and value-wise, because they are much larger player than they used to be. So I think it is win-win for everybody.
Okay, so it's a win-win for everybody. But Sanjay Kapoor, let me ask you, you've had experience of running a telecom company. For Tatas, this was a long-awaited exit from telecom. They have a very uneasy relationship with their Japanese partner. They've been speaking. We know on record now that they also spoke to Vodafone. This was filed by Cyrus Mistry in his plea before the High Court in Bombay. But what does Airtel stand to gain from this? What is it that Airtel is going to get from this merger? What exactly could Sunil Mittal be eyeing right now?
Okay, so let's examine 2 or 3 pillars as I peel the onion, and the one that primarily excites me is the DTH piece, because DTH, if you look at the structure the world over, just about 1 or 2 players exist in every market, and for more than 1 or 2 players to make money out of this business has been a challenge the world over. Now, one consolidation activity happened between Z and Videocon, and they formulated in a joint venture which probably has created the largest entity and has pipped both Tata Sky and Airtel in terms of number of customers at least. Now, given the stature of both Tata Sky and Airtel, I think this clearly will pronounce a company which will be the largest in this trade, and hopefully given the synergies between the two of brand, marketing, transponders, etc., I think there could be an opportunity to create a viable company that makes money on a sustainable basis and also generates cash out of this business the way these businesses do in rest of the world, despite the fact that India sells 400, 500 channels at a throwaway price in the market. I think there could be a case towards profitability by these two companies coming together, and that piece excites me the most. The second piece is about the enterprise, and there obviously Tatas probably have an upper hand where their presence out of Tatacom is there in multiple parts of the world, and they provide both connectivity, storage, and maybe some value added services to a lot of their customers, and probably have a bigger piece. For Airtel, it has never been their mainstay. Although on connectivity, Airtel has done a good job, but I don't think between the two players there is any digital services play for the enterprise which is worth talking about today. Can two entities coming together create one large entity, because the market is very fragmented in that space? Could be a possibility, but it's a long drawn possibility. Do not expect miracles to happen overnight after this merger.
So no miracles to happen as far as the digital space is concerned, but your bet really is on the DTH part of the business. Gopal Jain and Mohit Saraf, when you talk about Tata today and things stand as such, the Tata Sky is what really comes to your mind first when you talk about the digital, the broadband, the telecom landscape really. Is that what is most integral to this merger at all? Because, I mean, Bharti, yes, is a DTH operator, but mobile telephony is really the oxygen for Sunil Mittal's company.
So I think, as you said, different companies have different strengths. It's mobile telephony for Bharti, and as you said, what is evocative when you talk of Tata's is Tata Sky, which is at the forefront of that line of their business. So if you now see the consolidation in that context, you have leaders in mobile telephony, you have leaders in DTH, and as Sanjay rightly said, that's really the exciting piece which I also see, because that's where you can be 1 or 2 players, there'll be better viability, you'll have better cash flows, and that's really important at this point in time for the industry. So I think since we're at a transformational stage in the sector, and the government itself is actually looking at telecom reform, so it's out and open for debate. So I think the fact that these alliances are happening at this time, the mood and sentiment is very much for merger and healthy consolidations. partly for survival and partly because that's the way businesses go all over the world given the market structure and challenges that we face. So I think all in all it's a win-win situation that we can see at this early point in time.
Okay, so all in all a win-win situation, but how much of this is really being triggered by the entry of a disruptive operator like RelJio? I mean, who would have thought that Bharti and Tata will perhaps be on a call together? I know Sanjay Kapoor has a view on that. I'm going to go to him in just a bit. But Mohit Saraf, you want to take that question? Is this essentially being triggered by RelJio? Is Bharti acting, for the lack of another word, in haste, too desperate to maintain its numero uno position?
Actually, if you think about it, everybody knew Jio was coming. But really most of the players, particularly in the mobile telephony part, did not understand the disruption which Jio could create. And I think what the tariff and the plans and the customer acquisition, what Jio has done is remarkable. And that has put a lot of stress on every operator, I would say. If you think about the Norwegian operator sold off and got out, the Vodafone and Idea got in. I would say it's such an important thing that everybody knows that in a short time, if you are a small player, you will have to keep pumping in cash. But if you are a larger player, as what we understand is globally 2-3 players can survive and they can make money. And I would say, if you see the immediate cause, clearly it's a Jio and Jio's disruptive policies and tariff plans, and people know that Jio has to get a certain amount of customers and base before they can break even, and it will do everything, and you know that. And because of that, I would say everybody is trying to understand that they just can't sit on the sideline and wait things to happen, because they have to be aggressive. And this is a part of alignment by consolidation, I would say trimming of debt, improving cash flows. Banks are asking for more equity infusion for partners. So it's a lot of stress across, just not the tariff plan. And I would say that is really what is triggering. But if you think about the entire thing, this merger is a very interesting merger. It will have a lot of challenges. Like, you have different shareholders at different level. There are few listed companies, there are few unlisted companies, there is a subsidiary of an unlisted company, a listed company. Then you have different lenders. Some lenders are more comfortable, obviously lenders of Tata Communication. Other lenders are a little bit more stressed. So it will be a lot of hard work before this can get to reality. And again, I feel that a lot of price would have to be paid before this becomes a win-win for everybody. Now, who's going to pay what price? I think it's too early to comment on.
Right. All right, Sanjay Kapoor, very quickly then. Tata Tele has about 32,000 crore rupee debt on its books. It has tried to recast it in the past as well. Bharti is also over leveraged. Can it absorb the debt? I mean, what sense does it make to do that deal with the debt on, or does it make sense only to do it if the swap is available?
Look, I think companies like Airtel are very savvy on such matters, and they understand how the market reacts to further leveraging, and they would not like to distort and destroy their ratios going forward. So I'm sure the construct of the deal can be done in a fashion where debt that comes into the merged entity is minimized through sale of assets, etc. And I'm sure they'll work that out, because Airtel is very conscious of the fact that their net debt to EBITDA should not worsen and should remain healthier compared to rest of the industry, which they have successfully been able to do up to now. And I don't think they will compromise that going forward. But obviously the risk is that if the debt was to come here, then obviously the picture doesn't look too good.
Indeed, the picture will never look good if the debt were to come in. Gopal Jain, you had a lot of experience, exposure to telecom. You know some of the biggest operators in the country. Sunil Mittal runs a rather successful business. There is, of course, financial tremor in telecom, but he wouldn't want to spare a lot of cash for this venture. Do you believe at any stage Tatas can just be a financial investor? I mean, the big question also is, Bharti would want to run the show entirely on their own.
Supriya, I was just going back a bit in time to what Mohit was also saying. Firstly, I think the entry of RGO has hastened things. It has acted like a catalyst. But eventually, I think everyone has to look at, size, capacity and strength to be able to maintain a numero uno position in the market. So I think, as Sanjay was saying, since he's been with them, obviously, as the leader and having done several transactions and deals, you'll do it in such a way that you don't carry forward this debt into the new company. You'll make it viable. You'll sort of generate sufficient interest in investors and others. So I think we'll have to wait to see how it's structured. But I think in terms of timing, these were some of the things which I think were bound to happen. It's just that it's probably happened a little faster and conversations have sort of started, and that's what we are seeing today. But I think they'll make a good couple coming together. That's my broad sense of it, knowing both of them quite well and having represented them over the years. I think there will be challenges, but I think those challenges can be met and overcome. It just requires some smart thinking and maneuvering. And if this government really believes in its ease of business, which it says, then they should completely facilitate mergers and consolidations like this and in good record time, because that will also send out a very strong and good message.
Okay, I'm going to take a quick last round of final questions with you. And Mohit Saraf, do you believe with this potential merger finally becoming a reality, Voda-Idea looking to get together, the stage is set for 3 operators in India, the big ones at least. Is this the final cleanup of Indian telecom?
I think so, because there will be really not any big players left. It will be consolidated 3 big players which have interest in data, connectivity, enterprise, DTH, mobile, landline, the entire telecommunication space. And I would say that really at the end of the day, the market is getting more mature. If you see last few months, the market is getting matured, and I think all these people understand that they have to bring a lot of synergies, I would say save wasteful expenditure and improve efficiencies. And that's what really all these parties are doing. And I would say that this is really what it will lead to, the 3 side. And I think taking on the earlier question, I clearly believe that maybe Tata could be on the board, but really they will be a financial investor, because really if you look at Bharti family has 31% or 32% and Singtel has another 30%. So really if the merged entity with the market cap which Airtel has, the shareholding of Tata Group would be very small. And in that case, either they will be a financial investor or they may be on the board, but really largely a financial investment. And then probably they may decide what to do with their investments.
All right, Sanjay Kapoor, I'm going to put you in a spot as always, because you had your skin in the game as far as telecom is concerned. Who's in a better position to win this market? RelJio, Idea, Vodafone, or a Bharti-Tata combined?
I'm not crystal ball gazing. I think all of them are going to put in their best. From the incumbent side, obviously my vote goes to Airtel, that they have probably demonstrated the best resilience. But it's too early to be judging Jio. I mean, with the amount of money they've put into this business, they are not blinking their eyelids in a hurry.
All right, Sanjay Kapoor, Gopal Jain and Mohit Saraf, thank you very, very much for being with us on this very special show. We're calling it the Big Telecom Reset.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/ETNow.